Hey YouTube, Captain Tech here, and in today's video, we're going to learn how to do an index match. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with some background information about an index match. Although it may seem quite complicated, it's really not that difficult. Really, you're just giving the formula 3 different inputs, and then it'll give you a result. The first input here is the return range. You're going to essentially tell Excel where the range is that you're looking to get the output value. Next, comma match, open parentheses, and then we have B, which is the lookup value, the thing that we want to enrich and get more information on. And then, of course, then comma, and then we have part C here, which is the lookup range. It's the part where once we have B, what are we going to search against? Where are we going to search for that particular value? So this is, of course, going to be on the sheet we're using to sort of enrich the data set. And then we always end with a comma, 0, close, close. So let's go ahead and see this in action. All right, so here is an example data set of a coffee shop. And let's imagine I'm the owner of this coffee shop. So I have a menu of all the items we sell along with the list price. And I reached out to the person who's managing the coffee shop, and they gave me a completely different data set here. They gave me, again, some of the items on the list, along with how much does it cost to make, along with the average weekly sales. And of course, as the business owner, I want to pull this information in to my initial data sheet, the menu. I want to pull in for each of these items how much they cost to make and how much we're selling, so I can get a quick profit margin and start to understand on a weekly basis how much profit should I expect for each of the menu items. So to pull these in, of course, we would either have to use an index match or a VLOOKUP. So in this case, of course, we're using an index match. So let's go ahead and see this in action. Let's say we want to pull in the cost to make for our small coffee here. We want to pull in C2 here. So we'll start with index. And the very first field, as we discussed in our example before, is we want to choose the value field. We want to choose the range of possible values for our coffee. And of course, that exists on that data set by the manager, right? We want to pull this data range here. We want to know what are the possible data ranges for the cost to make. So that's the first piece. We'll go ahead and hit a comma once that's done. And then we'll put match next. And then we'll open a parentheses. And then here, in the prior example, this would be the part B of the example. We want to enter the actual lookup value. We want to pass in what we're interested about. And of course, we're interested about the small coffee, right? So that would be B. Now we can hit a comma. And then lastly, we want to tell the formula where to look and find this small coffee. What column should it search for that in? And of course, that would be in our data set section here from the manager. We'll select column A because that's where our small coffee value is going to be. And then we're going to hit a comma, and that's part C complete. Then all we need to do is enter a 0 and then close our parentheses twice and hit enter. And as you can see, it'll go ahead and pull in the value for a small coffee. And of course, we can pull this formula down. And as an example, I went ahead and actually included an additional item here in latte. And what you'll see is if you actually look on the data set page from the manager, it actually doesn't exist. So I included this example to give you some sort of insight as to what happens if the data doesn't exist. I'll actually have a link to another video as to what you can do to sort of handle some of these NA error messages. One thing that we can do is to make these look a bit cleaner. In another video, I'll actually show you some of the reasons and some of the pitfalls for why you may get an NA and what you can do to correct them in those situations. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and do one last example to drive this point home. Let's pull in our weekly or average weekly sales. So we'll add that here, average weekly sales. And then again, index. We're gonna start with where should we find our values? Where our values are gonna come from column C here on the data set from manager page. We'll enter a comma. And then now we need to go ahead and enter match. open parentheses. And then again, the very first thing we want here is we're going to go back to our menu page and pass in what we're looking for. We're looking for the small coffee value. We're going to hit a comma. So this is section B done here. And then next, we're going to go ahead and go back to our data set from manager page and tell it where to search for that small coffee, which is going to be column A. And now we can hit a comma, hit a 0, close. And there we have it. We can go ahead now and pull this formula down, and now we have all the values for our data sheet here. All right, folks, that's all I have for you today. If the video was helpful, please leave me a like and subscribe. Your feedback is always super important. It helps me know whether or not these videos are helpful and whether or not I should make similar videos in the future. Over here, I have a video on VLOOKUPs if you're interested, so you can go ahead and click on that to learn more. In addition, I also have a video over here that gives some of the potential pitfalls you may experience whenever you're using index matches and some of the strategies you can use to get around them. And then lastly, over here, I'll give you some more use cases in which you can use index matches within your workflows and how they can really be used as a tool to get around some hairy situations. So again, thanks for watching. Take care.